All right, so we're locked into Minnesota right now with some breaking news following a deadly incident that unfolded as ICE enforcement was out conducting their operations. And during that operation, agents were attacked, with reports indicating the suspect used an SUV as a weapon. And almost immediately, before all the facts are even fully clear, the Minneapolis mayor is rushing to condemn the agents and publicly defend the attacker. As always, make sure you smash that thumbs up button and let me know you love the content. Subscribe to the channel for more and share this video. That way more people see what's really going on.
Mike Tobin is there live on scene with us for the latest. Mike.
Well, we got confirmation now through DHS that this was a vehicle ramming situation. They say, in fact, while ICE officers and federal agents were conducting targeted operations, they had the usual scene with the crowds descending on them, and someone, they say, DHS says, weaponized her vehicle. The ICE officer, fearing for his life and the lives of other agents, discharged his weapon and shot that individual, a woman who now, according to DHS, is in fact deceased. Now, I've got some of the statement from DHS saying that this is a direct consequence of constant attacks and demonization of our officers by sanctuary politicians who fuel and encourage rampant assaults. As far as the scene out here right now, you can see some of the police presence. The tape that is up to the south of me right now, there are about 100 demonstrators. The usual scene, shouting at the ICE agents who are on the scene, shouting at the FBI that's now conducting the investigation. It did get a little raucous. Tear gas was deployed about 30, 40 minutes ago, but right now it's a pretty typical scene following any of the operations with federal officers. Guys, back to you.
This one is on the Democrat leadership in Minnesota. When you're constantly demonizing federal agents for doing their job, enforcing federal law, it's on you. You can't say things like the federal government is kidnapping people, but we want you to be peaceful protesters and not think something is going to happen. You're going to have some lunatic who thinks the federal government kidnapping people, I got to do something about it. That's what you're going to have. And that's what happened. And so this one's on Tim Walz. This one's on Ilhan Omar. This one's on the Minneapolis mayor. They constantly get in front of the media. They constantly demonize federal agents, simply enforcing the laws that have always been on the books. These aren't new laws that Trump made up. No, immigration law has existed before Trump came in office. He's simply enforcing the rule of law. But because it's not to their political benefit, they don't like it. And so let's go ahead and walk through the actual footage of what happened. And I'm going to show you from two different angles. That way you guys can best make the decision for yourself. Was it justified? Was it not? Was the officer life in danger? Was the officer protecting the lives of those around him whose lives could have been in danger? Let's take a look. All right, so let's just go ahead and freeze frame it right to here. If you can see, this is an officer clearly on the side. At this point, he's already notified the driver to get out the vehicle, and they're already ready to put in reverse and go forward. So you have one officer on the driver door trying to open the door and remove the driver. And then you can see right here, this is an officer in front of the vehicle. And so now I'm going to play it from a different angle. This is a different angle that I found, and I want you guys to take a look at this angle because I believe it shows more clearly as far as where the officer was positioned versus the vehicle once it reversed and was coming towards the officer. Let's take a look at this one. And so let's just try to remove the emotion and just look at this for what we know so far. Remove the emotion out of it. We have a driver who is allegedly using their vehicle as a weapon to ram into federal agents. Those federal agents, you heard in the video, approach the vehicle and ask the driver to step out of the vehicle. The driver refuses to step out of the vehicle and then proceeds to hit the gas, where you can see one officer is standing in front of the vehicle, clearly because he was on the driver's side. It's not even like he was on the other side, on the passenger side. He was on the driver's side in front of the vehicle. The driver accelerates, and the federal agent at that moment makes a decision that he is going to fire his weapon in order to protect himself as well as those in the surrounding area. And so the real lesson that people who are opposing ICE need to take away from this is, if you want to protest, if you want to be against ICE, fine. But when you make a conscious decision to obstruct federal agents from doing their job, you are breaking the law. And if you make a conscious decision to then attack a federal agent using a weapon, in this case, your vehicle as a deadly weapon, then you will then have to face consequences of some sort. And in this case, unfortunately for that woman, it cost her her life. And so next, let's hear from the DHS Secretary, Kristi Noem, on the ICE-involved shooting in Minnesota. Take a listen.
A shooting that we just had in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It was an act of domestic terrorism. What happened was our ICE officers were out in an enforcement action. They got stuck in the snow because of the adverse weather that is in Minneapolis. They were attempting to push out their vehicle, and a woman attacked them and those surrounding them and attempted to run them over and ram them with her vehicle. An officer of ours acted quickly and defensively shot to protect himself and the people around him. And my understanding is that she was hit and is deceased. We're continuing to gather more information, but this goes to show the assaults that our ICE officers and our law enforcement are under every single day. These vehicle rammings are domestic acts of terrorism. We're working with the Department of Justice to prosecute them as such. We will continue to protect our ICE officers and in cooperation with other law enforcement agencies as well. You've seen me in the last couple of days deploy over 2,000 more officers to the Minneapolis area. And in the last 2 days, we've arrested hundreds and hundreds of dangerous criminals, not just fraudsters who stole from the American people billions of dollars and put it in their pockets and enriched their friends from overseas and themselves, but also individuals who committed acts of murder and rape and trafficking and drug exploitation and child exploitation. So we're going to continue to do our work.
And so you heard that. And so let's just be logical for a moment here, because you heard her mention how they are not just arresting. This is not just about taxpayer dollars being stolen. This is about arresting and removing violent criminals off of the street who find sanctuary in the state of Minnesota, because it's pretty much a criminal's paradise who wants to stay off the radar. And you have people like this woman, unfortunately, who, because of where she stands politically, is willing to put herself in between federal agents who have intel, who are conducting raids, who have information on people who are in the state of Minnesota, committed crimes, and they are there to remove those people. And yet you have residents who are clueless to all of that information. And they're literally saying, I'm going to obstruct and stop agents from doing their job, removing criminals. Yet you have protesters and people who will get out on the front lines and defend these people without having a single clue who they are actually defending. That's the part that boggles my mind. They assume that every person that federal agents arrest was just innocent and came over here for the American dream. They can't fathom the idea that some of these people also were escaping where they came from because they were criminals, and then came across the border and continue to be hardcore criminals committing horrific crimes. But of course, before all the facts are even made clear and fully known, you have the Minneapolis mayor, Jacob Frey, saying things like this. Take a listen.
To ICE, get the fuck out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite. There's a lot of information that is swirling around right now, and we collectively are going to do everything possible to get to the bottom of this, to get justice, and to make sure that there is an investigation that is conducted in full. But what we do know is that a 37-year-old woman is dead, and that she was shot by ICE. We've dreaded this moment since the early stages of this ICE presence in Minneapolis. Not only is this a concern that we've had internally, we've been talking about it. They are not here to cause safety in this city. What they are doing is not to provide safety in America. What they are doing is causing chaos and distrust. They're ripping families apart. They're sowing chaos on our streets. And in this case, quite literally killing people.
Once again, let's be logical. Where do we see this happening versus where do we not see this happening? Chicago, we see this happening. They have a mayor and a governor that strictly opposes what the federal government is doing, that chooses to allow their residents to oppose and obstruct ICE agents, that doesn't allow the police department to partner and work with federal agents in order to protect the citizens. Then we have Memphis, where the mayor and the governor decided that they would work with the federal agents. They wouldn't block them out. And so things were much more calm in Memphis. You know where else? New Orleans. For the most part, you didn't hear a lot coming out of New Orleans because the New Orleans Police Department superintendent decided that they were going to partner with federal agents on some level to make sure that they can keep the public safe. And so when you have places like Chicago, like Minnesota, where they make the conscious choice as leadership in that state, in that city, to say, no, we're not gonna choose to work with ICE. If they're gonna come, then they can just do what they do on their own. We're not gonna provide them any level of backup or cooperation. Then you leave the citizens who they're listening to the things that these leaders are saying, and then they're gonna be activated to do something. And this 37-year-old woman was activated to believe that she could use her vehicle as a weapon and take out some ICE officers, and it ended brutally awful for her.
Interfering with law enforcement type charges, resisting charges, all of those are fairly procedural. It keeps the whole thing at a much lower level, and ICE can do their lawful, emphasis on lawful, jobs. Instead, you got Jacob Frey and the governor and everybody else there piling on to try to make political points. They're creating this circumstance. And I go back to what I was saying earlier. It's time that they answer for this, because from where I sit, they are very close to co-conspirators for this nonsense. And just to wrap it up here, the Fed's got to start making arrests for some of these people who stand in front of the cars like this. These are federal charges that you can bring. If you're going to send in, let's say, 50 ICE officers, well, then send in 100. And the other 50 are there to take the people who impede operations, arrest teams. And this stuff will stop when these people all of a sudden have to face federal charges.
Paula, it was just a few weeks ago I had to...
Not only is it the largest immigration enforcement action ever, but in the ISIS history, but it's also the largest criminal enforcement action we've ever taken. You know, just look at what we arrested yesterday, right? You have somebody from Ecuador, who went to Minnesota to hide in plain sight. He was let in under the last administration's policy in 2022 when he entered, even though he was convicted of extortion, kidnapping, and strangulation, served 10 years in prison, was wanted for murder. Here he is hiding in plain sight in Minnesota. So It's not buffoonery. We're out there doing what we're supposed to do, and we're out there making sure that we're taking these criminally illegal aliens off the street.
Yeah, they don't even know who they're defending. These protesters, these people who are obstructing federal agents, they don't even know the type of people who they're defending and they're standing up for. All they know is that Trump sent them, and so they're going to obstruct and try and stop the federal agents from doing their job that they're lawfully doing. They don't even know that they're defending someone who has committed some horrific crimes that would probably more than likely commit those crimes against these very people who are defending them if it came down to it. But let me show you how MSDNC is reporting this. Let's take a listen on into them. Take a listen.
Leading up to this shooting.
So, Anna, we actually just saw Greg Bovino, who is leading this immigration raid for Border Patrol, on the scene here. We also know that leading up to this report of this shooting, ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, Border Patrol, was conducting a raid. Mr. Osman, that's Jamal Osman, a city council member. But basically, we heard that there were ICE raids, immigration raids up and down this block. We're in communication with a number of people who are known as ICE verifiers. ICE verifiers, they patrol where immigration officials are patrolling and try to let the community member know where they are, try to keep other community members safe of a potential immigration crackdown. And what we've been told from them, at least, Anna, and I have to couch what I'm saying here. It's important that they are the ones who are telling me this, is that this street, this area, is where a lot of the immigration raids in the last few days has been happening. Anna?
Always notice how MSDNC loves to word things in order to create the narrative. And so basically, you have ICE informers in that community who notify the people who are there illegally, because if you're in the country legally, you're not worried about federal agents. They're notifying the people who are there illegally, some of whom have committed violent, horrific crimes, and they're giving them the heads up that federal ICE agents are in the vicinity. And so we don't know. I'm sure more information will come out. Was this woman one of those people? Was she someone who was informing the people there in that community illegally when ICE agents arrive? And so we'll find out more of that information. But this is just a lesson to, when you make the conscious decision, this was a conscious decision by this person. When you make that conscious decision that you're going to take law into your own hand because you don't like what law enforcement is doing for political reasons or whatever, and so you want to become the aggressor, you put your life at risk. You put yourself in danger, and you will have to deal with the consequences, whatever they are, because you decided to make that decision. And this 37-year-old woman, she unfortunately found out that you can't just recklessly do what you want because you don't like it. We have laws in this country for a reason. And when people decide that they want to pick and choose what laws are okay versus which laws they don't really like, that's when you get chaos like what we've seen occur in Minnesota today. But let me know your thoughts. Drop them down below. You know, I appreciate when you guys chime in. Smash that thumbs up button. Let me know you love the content. Subscribe to the channel for more, and share this video. That way more people see what's really going on. Until next time.